and she was told that she has to surrender her guns because of this temporary restraining order. Now, if she goes to court and it all gets tossed out, then she'll get her guns back eventually, because she hasn't been convicted of anything yet that I've seen. But Erica Quinn is her name, is under a court order to stay away from children, or select children, the ones named in the order. So, there you have it, folks. She's all about protecting children, and yet she's not safe to have around children. And no, folks, this isn't because of some dirty divorce back and forth thing. This is because she, something else. She made threats against these kids. These aren't even her kids. These are other kids. So there you have it. Bum, 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 bum. Point and laugh at Moms Demand Action. They employ people who aren't allowed to be around kids, yet they're going to sit there and talk about that. Also, speaking of Miss Doesn't Know Her Facts, Shannon Watts, she's got a new campaign out called Nag Kroger, because she wants the grocery chain to ban firearms in their store. Well, Kroger isn't dumb. They don't want to get robbed. I'm not saying that law-abiding gun owners are going to rob them if they suddenly are not allowed to have their guns in there. That's not the case, folks. It has not yet been the case. What I am saying is, as long as they're in the news saying, hey, you can open carry or concealed carry in our store as long as you're legally carrying, or you're not waving your gun at people unnecessarily and being an idiot and being a criminal, we don't care. We support the Second Amendment. As long as they keep saying that, and people keep carrying legally, lawfully, and respectfully their firearms into the Krogers, the bad guys are going to think twice about going and robbing the Kroger, right? You're not going to hit a hard target. So, they're sticking to it. Kroger isn't bending. Meanwhile, Shannon and her ilk of idiots are trying to levy the court of public opinion to force Kroger to ban guns. Here's the problem. There are currently at least 57,000 other businesses who have openly declared that they welcome guns in their place of business. But she's picking one. Why? Why Kroger? That's a good question. Why? So, if I lived in a state that had a Kroger, or if you're in Arizona, it's called Fry's, I'd shop there on purpose. Just because. And I would carry, especially in Arizona, where we have constitutional carry, or down in Georgia, or wherever there's a Kroger. If you're in a state that allows for open carry, go shop at Kroger. I'm sure they have some good deals on something out there, right? Otherwise, they'd be out of business by now if they were all overpriced dreck. Anyway, added to that, some additional Second Amendment news. We have the president of the Liberal Gun Owners of America, who is left-wing on everything but the Second Amendment, has gone to has sent the letter, or sent his 2 cents to the governor of the Soviet Socialist Republic of California, and sent it to their premier, El Gubernatore in charge, Brown, and said, hey, this latest infringement on the Second Amendment that was passed, be smart and veto it. So there you have it over in California, because you know what's going to happen, folks. If they actually sign this thing into law, it's going to take a few years, but it's going to hit the Supreme Court. And like every other anti-gun law that's been passed in California, it's going to be deemed unconstitutional and it's going to get thrown out. So they're just going to waste their time and their money attempting to enforce this thing. It's dumb. It's unconstitutional. So, I don't know why they waste their time. I mean, look at the track record of anti-gun legislation that's come out over the past 20 years as it's hit the Supreme Court. What has happened to all of it? Unconstitutional, can't do that. Unconstitutional, can't do that. Unconstitutional, can't do that. Every single one. This one's not going to be any different, folks. All the legislators did there was waste Californians' taxpayer money to pass something that is illegal. So, there's my 2 cents on that particular bill. And if you don't believe me, go ahead and read the bill for yourself. You can look it up online. It's available. They're fairly transparent. You go to the California Legislative Office and look up the bill and do a search for gun rights or Second Amendment or some of those keywords, and you'll find it. Meanwhile, and we'll get back to California in a moment, folks, but I want to stick with the Second Amendment here. I need to give a shout out to Taya Kyle, and I know she's probably not listening, but I do want to kick her some words of support here and say, keep going, girl. Don't give up the fight. You've got a lot of people behind you. Keep faith, and keep faith in the system. And the reason why I'm saying this is, for those of you who don't know, Taya Kyle is the widow of American sniper, deceased, murdered, former Navy SEAL sniper, Chris Kyle. And she's filed the appeal, and today it goes before a federal, I think it's a federal judge, but it goes before a judge to kind of look at the appeal and either grant or deny, whatever the case might be. But it raises several key points. One is that the award that was given by the jury was arbitrary. Second was that the jury was not unanimous in its decision, and the jury was misled on several definitions when they asked for clarification of the law or legal definitions of terms, and the claim is the judge intentionally misled them, saying that there was no definition for something when there was a legal definition found in several Supreme Court documents. And other aspects to this that just brings up a whole lot of questions, things that I talked about in the past when I kind of questioned how the case came down. And, of course, my biggest problem with it was he was suing Kyle, who's deceased. So he's suing somebody who was unable to defend his position. It's impossible unless they were able to bring in some medium and can carry on a seance, and the spirit of Chris Kyle were able to enter the courtroom. And then you'd have to first get a jury decision on whether or not they actually believe in ghosts or not. Because if the majority of them didn't, well, that entire thing gets thrown out. Well, if that gets thrown out, that means that entire defense testimony gets thrown out, which means that the defense, that the respondent or defendant, however you want to look at it, is not being afforded a proper defense. So it's that whole catch-22 situation there. So the bottom line is Kyle's lawyer wants the case to go back before another trial, if not just have the whole decision thrown out completely. I say a new trial with proper jury instructions would be an apt response for the judge to make. But I'm not in his shoes. So that's the latest going on with that, folks. So it appears that Chris Kyle and, actually his widow Taya and Jesse Ventura have not yet had all their days in court. And It's still ongoing. There's more to come. So we'll see what happens with that. Now, going back to California, really quickly, because we're running out of time, and I do have something else to get to here, folks. But going over to California again, we have to go to California and our neighbors to the south, Mexico. There's a little bit of confusion going on there. Good old premier of the Soviet Socialist Republic of California, Jerry Brown, loves illegals and doesn't think there should be any borders as far as people coming in. Going out's a different story, folks. And if you really believe he wants open borders, get on I-10 and travel from Arizona over into California and have fun with the California Border Patrol agents. Now, these aren't the U.S. Border Patrol. This isn't the federal feds. These are actually California Department of Agriculture police. But it's their own customs department who will inspect your car as you come in from Arizona and enter California, which, by the way, is a violation of the U.S. Constitution and the interstate commerce and travel aspects listed within the U.S. Constitution. Just want to throw that out there. But But according to Jerry Brown, you can come back and forth from Baja California, from there in Tijuana, all you want. But if you're coming from Arizona, we're going to strip search you. Gotta love it. Anyway, last Monday he announced that all Mexicans and illegals are welcome in California. So if you're an illegal alien living in Texas or Connecticut or Ohio or where have you, move to California. You're welcome there. He's going to give you all kinds of free crap. Free education, free health care. He can let you live in the governor's palace. He's going to, all that stuff. He's just going to give it to you. It's up to him. He's just going to do it. Mexican president was bold enough to say that California is the other Mexico. However, he hasn't checked his demographics. You can get a driver's license, college, food stamps, welfare, and even practice law in California if you're an illegal. But good luck finding a job, because there aren't any. And all kinds of other things going on there. So, he may have things a little bit mixed up when it comes to demographics there and what's actually allowed there in California, because there's a lot of stuff that California's allowing that's actually federal law, and if it's caught, California can't do anything about the federal prosecution. We just have to hope that the U.S. Department of Justice will actually do its job and prosecute. But we all know Eric Holder won't do that. Anyway. Time keeps on ticking. Holder will only have his job for so much longer, folks. Start counting the days. Speaking about free education and weird education, in the last couple minutes here, I want to talk about kind of the theme of the week, and we've been talking about Common Core. Good old Common Core.
The new school year is just around the corner. Government bureaucrats are about to force millions of American children into Common Core classrooms. Our children will no longer learn traditional math and American history in their classrooms. Even worse, our children's information is going into a government database. Their test scores, height, weight, and more. Go to FreedomWorksCommonCoreFails.com website today and download the action plan to stop Common Core and Obama's progressive allies from ruining our education system. Get the plan today at CommonCoreFails.com and take a stand for America's next.
So go ahead and get both sides of the story, folks. Do your research on Common Core, the pros, the cons, up and down, and as you'll find out, more and more people who were pro-Common Core before are now not so much liking it. Add that to something that came out recently, speaking of adding. A Common Core teacher explains the Common Core method for adding and why they do all this and blah, blah, blah on a homework helper segment that was on a local news show. So let's hear how to add 9 and 6.
Today, our math teacher, Eileen Ryan from Williamsville's Maple West Elementary, teaches us basic math using a base 10. When you and I were in school, we used to just memorize 9 plus 6 equals 15. Not anymore. With the Common Core, students need to understand why that's the case, and Mrs. Ryan is here to explain.
Thank you. So our young learners might not be altogether comfortable thinking about what 9 plus 6 is. They are quite comfortable thinking about their friend 10. 10 is emphasized in our young grades as we're working in a base 10 system. So if we can partner 9 to a number and anchor 10, we can help our students see what 9 plus 6 is. So we're going to decompose our 6. And we know 6 is made up of parts. One of its parts is a 1, and the other part is a 5. We're now going to anchor our 9 to a 1, allowing our students to anchor to that 10. Now our students are seeing that we have 10 plus 5, having now more comfort seeing that 10 plus 5 is 15. That's much more comfortable than looking at 9 plus 6, an isolated math fact.
All right, you got all that? No.
Yeah. 6 is made up of parts that we're going to split up. So basically, they have to subtract 1 from the 6 in order to add 10 plus 5 and come up with 15, instead of just doing 9 plus 6 equals 15. So they do it the long, hard, confusing way, instead of just going 9 plus 6 equals 15. You don't need to know all that, the weird why. Why is 9 plus 6 15? Because if you have 9, you add 6 more, that makes 15. That's how it is. That's the fact. There's no weird, ambiguous, coming out of left field, super enlightenment why. It's a fact. It is. So, real quickly, because we only have got a couple minutes left, let's listen to who a 5th grader, I think this is the one I have about a 5th grader talking about what Common Core is. Or maybe, no, this is a doctor explaining Common Core in 2 minutes or less.
Government that believes it can mandate that children achieve by government fiat. When that happens, you wind up breaking the system at every level. States are put in a position of having to pretend that they have 100% proficiency, even though that's not possible. Schools wind up spending all of their time remediating the bottom children, trying to get them to minimum standards instead of allowing every child to reach their potential. And children are caught in a morass of educational curriculum that is simultaneously age inappropriate and too difficult for them to be able to work with, because children aren't common. They don't all come out the same. So what we have is a system that says every child must be identical, and a reality that says no two children are identical. And the attempt to force that fantasy onto the reality is creating a nightmare that is playing out in every classroom in America. And as parents and teachers are being forced to live the nightmare, you are seeing increasing opposition to it.
Well, there you have it, folks. It's time on this Freedom Friday to take a good look at the weekend and think about how we can free our children from the yokes of Common Core. And Common Core really is an amalgamation of several educational applications, computer applications, and resource companies combining with the federal government doing crony capitalism and legislative fiat, or not legislative, but government fiat, to force kids to learn a certain way instead of learning the way that works for them and actually learning stuff. So we need to free them from the yokes of Common Core and let kids be kids and learn and soak up as much as they can in the way that works best for them. It's the only way they're going to succeed and prosper in our world, our little microcosm, our state, our country, and this whole big planet. That is my rather short bit on Common Core to round out the week. I think I've done my job. Hopefully I'll see some of you at the San Antonio Pagan Pride Day tomorrow from noon to 7 at the Alamo City Event Center. And if not, we'll see you right back here on Monday. If not at our new channel, because that could happen over the weekend. Might get ready. But we'll see you back here next week. Y'all have a great weekend. Talk to you then. Bye-bye.